Hey, what's up, everybody? Evil Spectrum 3 of Joe Cronin Show with Jake. We got Jake here today. This is part 2 of the Batman talk. So in the last one I talked about how the suit looks, and basically we're kind of gonna re-go over it here with Jake video about Batman. So in my opinion, we're looking at a stripped down Batman. He's just beginning, kind of, but he's been doing it. So he's been Batman for a couple of years, and he's got some of the basics, but nothing overboard like Christopher Nolan's Batman, where within 3 years he was like Batman 20 years of the comics. This is a stripped down, has the basics. He's been Batman for a few years, and it's gonna be more of a Sherlock Holmes Batman. Like, it's about mysteries more and solving the crime.
Yeah, it's got that noir feel to it, which I'm very intrigued by. From the moment they showed the slate on that leather seat, you had that kind of 1920s classic, noir thriller look to it.
Yeah, I almost think it's got a couple different things. It's got, like you said, like the 20s noir or whatever. I don't even know that much about Batman going that far back. Like, I love Batman. Like, it's my favorite superheroes, Batman, then Superman, and X-Men. Those are my favorite superheroes. I mean, besides like Ninja Turtles or something like that, if you count Ninja Turtles. But it also has a vibe of like, kind of like the 70s, like a little bit, or the 80s. And it's definitely going to go with that sort of, I think, like that electro 80s throwback meets what you just said, like the very early 1920s noir style, all kind of merged into one very hard, like very hardware. Like everything looks like functional, like mechanical. I want mechanical is the word I want.
Yes, like a steampunk kind of.
Yeah,
where everything has gears and.
Yeah, and
I mean, the actual bat symbol on his chest reportedly is the gun that was used to kill his parents.
Yeah, it looks like a gun.
I mean, how cool is that? I mean, in the sense of for the suit. So the gun that killed his parents is what is the bat symbol on his chest. That's badass.
Definitely believable, because if you look at it, the bottom looks like a gun split in half. So he obviously cut the gun in half and then split them and put them and then carved the gun out to look like, I guess.
Yeah, the bat symbol, which is just such a great thing. Production started obviously last year, and then they had filming stopped in, I believe it was in March, because of everything that happened with the coronavirus. Now they're going to start filming again with the Matrix 4. I know they did set production again as of a month ago. They started rebuilding for the Batman.
Yeah, they're not done with
Matrix
the Batman.
4.
The Batman.
No, they're starting to film again in September. They were getting through it quite well, I guess, but they hadn't filmed much yet. So
yeah, and I hope you guys stick around, because in the next episode we'll talk a little bit about the Matrix. So we'll talk about the Matrix next, but a little teaser
like
there.
WWE has their Thunderdome, DC has the Fandome coming up. So it's going to be a Hall of Heroes on August 22nd, and it's a interactive multiverse. You're going to be able to do different things. So there's going to be different panels. So the Hall of Heroes is August 22nd, and the second one is the multiverse. That's September 12th.
Let me ask you this: the Fandome is a big thing, and they actually revealed a lot of stuff about this Batman in it. Like, they had a little teaser stuff.
Yeah,
they have the all the villains are there, and so this Batman, to me, like you said, is going to be more psychological, be kind of like a Sherlock, kind of like an NCIS Batman, Law and Order Batman, and the first main villain looks to be the Riddler. I mean, the Penguin's in the movie too, but it just seems to me like this has Riddler kind of written all over it. But the main villains are Oswald Cobblepot, the Riddler. Colin Farrell's playing the Penguin. Oh, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. But Colin Farrell's playing Penguin. Andy Serkis is Alfred, and apparently he's got a lot of screen time. So
yeah, so I'm curious to see about that. And I liked Ben Affleck's portrayal of Bruce Wayne. I really enjoyed, like, he was my favorite thing in both BVS and
which we made fun
Justice
of.
League.
That was the thing that I made. I personally made a lot of fun of that at first. Like what? And he was the best thing. You're right. It was crazy. He was that very brooding, like everything was like brooding and oversized.
Yes,
with Ben Affleck's
yes.
Batman.
Mountain out of a molehill kind of feel. But yeah, he portrayed the human side of Bruce very, very well, I thought, which is something we don't always get to see portrayed that well.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted to do this one. He said the script is really, really good. But people told him that if he went to do this one, he'd drink himself to death after what he just went through with the previous films. Between the physical demanding and the psychological demands of what he'd have to do for it, he said that he's not in a place where he'd be able to film the movie.
So he was offered this role first?
Yes.
Wow.
He was originally meant to star and direct the Batman. He was going to direct the movie and star. And their direct quote is, I think the script is great. I also think I'll drink myself to death if I go through what I just went through again. This is what he told the New York Times. So.
Well, then he did what's best for himself, which is not always what people do. I would say
no, and that's not easy. I give him a lot of credit for doing so.
But he could have directed it.
You walked away from a director's spot of a huge blockbuster movie.
Why didn't he direct it, though? Because he's been good at that.
Apparently, he's had too many issues. You could tell when you watched Justice League. You know, he was going through a lot of his alcohol problems then because he looks very bloated in the face and puffy, and especially for the scenes that were reshoots, you can really tell that he was having an alcohol problem.
Good Lord,
his face is very cherry red, and he's blotchy at times. Yeah, he looks puffy, especially like when you see them in the Batcave. Like those reshoots are really noticeable. If you're not looking for it, it doesn't pick up as much, but because it's quick, but you definitely see it if you know you're to look for it.
Of the Christopher Nolan Batmans, what was your favorite?
The second one, The Dark Knight, absolutely. That one hit me in such a way. The portrayal of the Joker and the entire story told in that movie was unbelievable. So based in reality and realism, but still able to suspend disbelief that, like, oh yeah, these things can exist. Everything felt real, and it was just an unbelievable way to bring comic book movies onto screen. So,
well, I think
one of my favorites.
I think I have trouble with this, because I'm typing something. Sorry, I'm having trouble with this. I always have trouble with this because I think I like Batman Begins the best. It's very hard to pick because the Joker, the Dark Knight is so, it's gonna be the one that's remembered. The Dark Knight, no, The Dark Knight Rises. What's the one you're talking about?
Joker. Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight's gonna be the one that everybody remembers the most, but it's really Batman Begins. It almost felt like Batman Begins was made like in a different decade or whatever. Like they made that, and then by the time they got to Dark Knight, it was like they had a whole new thing that they were gonna do. But
think about it too. The last thing that we had for Batman was what, 99?
Yeah,
chill, freeze, the Iceman cometh. That was
ridiculous.
Our last Batman with Poison Ivy and Bane and all that stuff, and it was just a disaster of a movie. I still love that movie. Don't get me wrong. Batman and Robin's a classic.
Yeah, I can still watch those movies. I can still watch. They're just
I can watch and laugh at them and enjoy it, but it's not like, oh my God, that's my favorite movie. But I can always, if it's on, I will always watch it. I love those movies for their campiness and silliness.
The first two had, with Michael Keaton, they had these they had a couple little moments like that. So it's not crazy, but definitely the third and the fourth movie went overboard. They just went off the rails. Like,
look how dark Returns got with Catwoman. I mean, they really tried to take a lot of dark and more brooding elements out of the story there, and it didn't do well commercially with parents. It wasn't selling toys as well. It wasn't. So they went back to the drawing board and said, well, we're going to make action figures first and write the story around that. And that's what happened going forward.
I said it
they were more worried about a McDonald's placement ad in the third movie than they were about continuity. So.
Well, Batman Returns went full Undertaker. Like it went full like WWE, like Supernatural. Like I mean, like Selena Kyle's falling out of windows and has 9 lives, and like the Penguin is like dead looking. Like it was just he was a baby. All his,
crony crew and
the clowns were like weren't even like real people. It was just so weird. It was a weird Tim Burton. Like Supernatural. It had a lot of Supernatural vibes in it. That's what you know, and all of the original Batman kind of had that a little bit in a way vibe. But, you know, yeah, then Christopher Nolan's, I talked about that being more like a kind of like a mob slash high tech movie because like Batman just gets everything so quick. He gets like even down to the bat suit in Batman, the Christopher Nolan one. By the second movie, Batman has like a goddamn bat suit that you can't break with it.
Yeah, he's got the upgraded bat suit with the Kevlar weaving, and this way he can withstand dogs. And yeah, you know,
the
that
Batman
was
tech in those movies, it grows 20 years worth of tech grows in like 3 movies. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he does get things that go. I mean, he's flying in a jet in the last one,
Right.
So
Like he's
and
super.
I think it's an 8-year span altogether in the movies. I think it's 8 years it covers.
It's unbelievable like what he gets in that movie, but it works for that movie. But for this movie, it just feels this is going to be, you know, every time there's a Batman, they kind of go the opposite way, right? Like the old Batman was that, come on, Robin, you know, I'm Batman in this goofy car. And then in the
that
90s,
swanky 60s disco kind of era.
yeah, and then the 90s Batman was more about current times and trying to make it more real in a way. And then it got really campy in 90s by the end of it. And then Christopher Nolan's was like, we're going to go Batman Begins. We're going to show you how he starts.
Yeah, we're going to try and make this as real as possible.
Exactly. Like what if
and
Batman
that's why
was
Batman
real?
Begins works so well, because he doesn't have everything. He's getting his ass kicked. His home gets burnt down. You know, there's a lot of trials and tribulations. He's not just succeeding. He almost loses multiple times. He succumbs to the fear toxin, and he's got all these things that he has to, you know, survive through and fight through and learn about being Batman. So it just, the story there is really excellent, and it took its time. It allowed itself to breathe, and it was a true comeback to screen for Batman.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Just like when Star Wars Episode 7 came out, you know,
well, and that's
you had to do something a little bit safe, but something still new enough that people would enjoy.
That's the benefit of Batman versus Star Wars, right? Like in these comics versus something like Star Wars, because Batman comics always change over the years, and you can always say like my favorite version of the Batman comics, and it's sort of accepted that there's a version of Batman, whereas in Star Wars or Star Trek or something like that, but especially Star Wars, they get so crapped on now because like, oh, we're trying to turn it into the current SJW stuff and whatever, and it kind of like, it feels like it's ruined Star Wars. Whereas you could have 3 Batmans, like say this Batman comes out and it's not good, and say another one comes out and that's not good. It's like Batman's not ruined because you can always remake Batman. So it's like there's not a worry like that. It's not like, oh my God, Batman's ruined, because it doesn't matter. Sure, you can love the Christopher Nolan one, hate the Tim Burton one, and maybe what you could say though is that they ruined that series, like Tim Burton, right? So like say you love the first Batman, 1989, whatever it was, and then say Batman Returns comes out and you think Batman Returns was good, but then Batman Forever comes out and it's horrible, and you're like, oh God, it was that they ruined the series, is done. Maybe that's true, but then maybe the 4th one comes out and it's good, you know? So like, you're not, no matter what, Batman will always live on. Even if there's a bad series of movies or a bad version of it, it doesn't matter. You can always recover. So there's less stress and anxiety for fans, I think, over this type of stuff, because the only thing you're losing if this Batman isn't good is time. You're losing, oh, got to wait 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 years maybe for it to ever be seen on screen good again. But no matter what, if this Batman sucks, I just go, well, whatever, throw in the Nolan ones.
Yeah.
You know? Not a big deal. But Star Wars, whoops. You know,
yeah, that's, you can't reboot that. You can't, you know, essentially. I mean, maybe you can, but
yeah. So what they need to, what I think,
it takes a lot of destroying.
well, Star Wars may be looking at alternate realities and time jumps and warps and stuff, and that could be coming. And where they explain in an alternate universe other people exist, and that's how the Force moves. I'm not joking about this. That's something that could be happening, and they're going to retcon this last series and explain it that way. And the Emperor exists interdimensional. I don't know. It's going to be crazy what they might end up doing. I don't know. Anyway, that's another podcast for another time. But
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, look at the cast they have for this. Paul Dano is going to be the Riddler. You know, play Edward Enigma Nashton. Originally, Jonah Hill was going to be going for that role, but he's not. Pattinson is obviously Bruce Wayne / Batman. Dano's known for, you know, Little Miss Sunshine, There Will Be Blood, Wildlife, Prisoners, Swiss Army Man.
Never
There's
seen
a lot
him.
of movies.
Never seen him. He looks like the kid from Almost Famous.
Yes, he has that look to him.
I don't know, but that's old. Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
That's a great comparison. Then we have
You
Zoe
know who he looks
Kravitz.
like?
She's going to be playing Catwoman.
You know who else he looks like? I gotta say it. He kind of looks like Andy. God damn it! From Taxi. He's dead.
Oh, not Kaufman.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman. He kind of looks like Andy Kaufman a little
Yeah.
bit. Not really, but like
Yes,
a
he
little
does.
bit. Oh, anyway, I had
So
to say
bad with
that.
names. And the funny part is, you know, Zoe Kravitz was turned down, or she turned it down. I forget the story. One of the two, and to be Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
That's crazy.
But then she was the voice of the Catwoman character in the Lego versions, the Lego Batman and the Lego movie.
Right.
So people like her already as the voice of this character, and I do as well. She does a really good Selena Kyle Catwoman voice, and I really like the Lego movies. I did enjoy those. They told a funny, you know, good Batman story, honestly. So
Well, I was saying this in my other video. You know, you're one of the things that I like about Catwoman is that, or one of the things that I liked was when I was younger. You know, Catwoman was black when I was younger. When we were, I mean, way back in the '60s or whatever, the TV show one, they had a white girl play a white woman and a black woman play Catwoman. But for a while, it was the black woman that played Catwoman that I saw. So as a kid, when Batman Returns came out, I was like, oh, it's so weird to see you. You know what I mean? How you get used to somebody, a certain type of person playing a character.
yeah,
But this, I'm not worried.
they kind of become typecast in a sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody becomes type. You're just used to it. That's the way it is. But we've had lots of different people play Catwoman over the years. Like Halle Berry. That was a horrible movie. I never even.
Oh God, so bad.
Didn't even see that movie. But
I remember working at the video store when that came out, and trying. We were supposed to push, you know, the new releases.
Yeah.
People would come up to the desk and be like, "Don't rent this. Don't." You know, just I'm saving you money.
I can't even imagine watching that.
No.
I mean,
Jeffrey Wright is going to play Commissioner Gordon, so now we have an African American man playing Gordon. That's a great step, you know.
well,
It was an interesting casting choice, and I like him as well. He was really good.
what do you
in,
mean great
the
step,
Bond there.
Jake? What the heck do you mean by great step? What do you by
Great step
you
forward
want
to go ahead and be diverse in the cast.
You want
not
to
have
erase
keep
white
things
people? You're trying to erase white people. That's what you're
yes,
saying?
yes, the full white guilt genocide right
No,
here, baby.
wh-
That's my
no,
first step plan.
What I want to say though about this movie is what I can tell you is I don't feel angry about any of the
No,
like
no,
it all
that's
makes
the thing.
sense.
It's their interpretation. They're not doing any of this, at least so far. The way I
Right.
perceive this, there's no virtue signaling here. They're literally scouring who they feel would
Yep.
be the best person for this role.
Yes.
And that's why I said I enjoyed it so much, because, you know, Zoe Kravitz, she's an African American Catwoman. We've had one before, but this is, you know, but for a Gordon role, that's great. You know, you pick somebody. You didn't have to stick with, they have to be white
Yeah.
for this role to work. That was my point.
And the only reason
they found the best person for the role that they feel.
we're bringing this up because it's such a hot topic thing in the last 5 years. That's why I'm bringing it up. Who gives a crap? So the good thing is they've said nothing about this, and they've made me. I have not felt that this is some kind of SJW crap. So this is all honest casting to me, and this is an example when people crap on me or us about, oh Joe, you think everything's SJW and you think everybody's virtue signaling. Well, this is a time where I don't think they're doing that. They're diversely casting, which is perfect. And none of it is virtue signaling yet. We'll see if that changes. But right now, I'm happy with all this. Everybody looks right for the part. I don't know how they're going to act and we'll talk about that when it happens. But right now, people look the part everywhere. So this is an example of doing things right. Trying to cast in 2020 with a diverse enough cast to connect with everybody in the world. Although there's still no Asians. So sorry, Asians, you still suck. But no, like
Colin Farrell is going to be playing Oswald Cobblepot, so he'll be the Penguin.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting choice. Total divulgence here is that Colin Farrell is like, one of my guilty pleasures. I love him as an actor. He's so I've always found him to be really, really intriguing as an actor.
Not in that stupid remake of Total Recall though.
No, I didn't care for him there.
What a
unfortunately,
horrible
but that was
movie
just
that
a bad
was.
movie in general.
Remember Phone Booth was great though.
Yeah, Phone Booth I really liked. The Home at the End of the World I really enjoyed. So,
Uh-huh.
but I even liked him as Bullseye. I hated that damn Daredevil movie, but his portrayal, I loved it.
Hmm.
Bullseye, eh? And then Andy Serkis, he'll be showing his face this time. Funny
Yeah.
enough, he's not going to be CGI. He'll be playing Alfred. So, and as you said before when you mentioned it, you're going to have a ton of on-screen time for Alfred. So that's really interesting too.
I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second because I was looking up the Batman photos I was going to use in this
Yeah, these
video.
these set photos are
No, but
the,
like
the
Batman,
motorcycle.
Batman and Catwoman porn came up. It's
That'll
just
distract anybody.
it's creeping me out, bro. This is weird. Super
And
weird.
and obviously Matt Reeves did the Planet of the Apes movies, and Andy Serkis was a huge part of those. So I forget the name of the monkey that he played in there, but
Whoa. Oh, okay.
um, and then Peter Sarsgaard, Jamie Lawson.
Uh-huh.
So we have those as Batgirl would be Jamie Lawson, and Peter Sarsgaard would be Two-Face, Harvey Dent. So
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is packed. They have Gotham DA Gil Colson and
A lot of rumors.
mayoral candidate Bella Real we played. So I mean, there's a lot of rumors still, but I mean, think about that. So you've got the Penguin, you've got the Riddler, now you've got you're just adding more villains on top of it with Two-Face there. Then Catwoman, you don't know if she's going to be. She's kind of like a chaotic neutral
Yeah,
where
you don't
she
know.
helps both sides. You don't know if she's going to be for or against Batman in that moment.
Yeah. And I think
So
that
that's a really interesting, dichotomy to face as well.
she's her own sort of what's the word? What vigilante, I guess. She is a vigilante too. Like, but a rogue, you don't know, hybrid, you don't know what she's gonna do.
Yeah, and
And
then John Turturro is playing Carmine Falcone, the big mob boss that was in.
yep.
He was the main guy in Batman Begins, one of the main guys.
A lot of
So
rumors about the
that's
owl, the
he's the
court.
one from John's from the Big Lebowski. So
Yes, yeah, and Mr. Deeds.
yep, yep.
Which is hilarious because that guy's just hilarious. Like, I don't know what the hell he's gonna
He
be.
pops up as the butler all over the place.
Yeah. Like but the guy's gonna be serious.
Yeah,
There's
to
a
see him play a mob boss is just it's a stretch, but I'm curious to see how
well,
it plays out.
there's a rumor that the Court of Owls will be the an organized crime group, secret society, Batman.
Yeah,
That they've been sort of manipulating Gotham since the beginning of time, and that is a rumored um to be what is really going on here. I mean, there's callbacks to it all over the photos, kind of like the Illuminati, but this is just solely for Gotham, which kind of sort of in a way is part of the last Batman movies with the League of Shadows. They're there more like to destroy, straight up like get rid of Gotham, destroy it. Whereas the Court of Owls is more like they're manipulating the entire city, on purpose
Yeah,
for whatever.
and that's going to be, that's an interesting possibility for them to do that. As
Don't
I said
know.
before with the gun too, they're taking that, directly from Kevin Smith and Jim Lee's comics that they've created recently. So I'm really curious to see, as you said, the Court of Owls. There's a lot of things that they've even possibly already announced a sequel. So I mean, or at least admitted that there will be one.
Right.
With Pattinson talking about, I don't know anything about future movies, but somebody leaked that he possibly already signed for a second one.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure he's in for a couple, if not.
I don't know if you
more.
saw the movie The Lighthouse
No.
with Pattinson and William Dafoe.
Didn't see it.
It was a very odd movie, but it was good. Very, very bizarre.
I like it.
Even
If it's,
talking to you about it,
I want to
yeah,
watch it.
it would be up your alley. But William Dafoe has this really unique kind of like piratey voice in it, and
Uh-huh.
that's what Robert's using as his Batman voice.
Hmm.
He said, "I think Batman has kind of a piratey deep voice. I think that will really suit my suit." So he said, "I'm using William's voice is the inspiration for it, to be honest." So that's interesting too. So
That
even
is
if you just
really
look up a
weird.
clip on YouTube of William Dafoe in The Lighthouse, you can kind of hear what Batman might sound like.
Let me look it up. William Dafoe, Lighthouse. He's got a great voice. So let's yeah.
What? Oh. Damn steak! If I had a steak.
Wait, he's in the movie with him? That's so weird. So he's like, I saw him do it, so I'm gonna do his voice.
I'm drunk.
Yeah,
You won't be
he's
saying
not in
that.
the Batman, but
You won't be saying that.
King Kitchen Shanty cooks. There was frying donuts 3 times
drunk.
a day.
You're
Country
drunk.
hand bigger than
You're
your
drunk.
food. I'm drunk.
So he's gonna be an Irish guy,
a deeper kind of like piratey tone is what he's going for.
right?
It's kind of hard to imagine entirely, but I could see what he means. So
So
I
they
don't
get more
have
of
to
this.
say nothing.
Danny! Let Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow. Oh!
It's hard to
yeah,
get
right
anything.
there, I can kind of see what he means, but
I don't know. We're gonna
still maybe not the best example.
we're gonna find out.
But it's interesting. I can see because he worked with him on the movie, so that would be why it would be so fresh to be like, that's my inspiration.
I've got arrows on my arm.
So
I'm wearing arrows on my arms. Yeah,
I was never crazy about the Nolan Batman voice.
You know, I wasn't, but it made the most sense.
It did make the most sense. That's the thing. But I loved the way they digitized it in the BVS movies. You know, the more recent ones. It just made sense that he would use some type of digital filter or voice, modulator.
Yeah, a voice modulator, or just to be like, I've got arrows. I've got arrows on my arms. He could speak like that.
Yeah, instead of but to be that low and grumbly, that I know, what's his name said that it killed his voice constantly.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Yeah, can't remember people's names. I can't remember anything. My memory is ridiculous. I hear all these sometimes people like with callbacks to all these things, and they're constantly snapping like callbacks. Every 2 seconds I'm like, what's that guy? Or I can't think of anybody's name.
Yeah, Christian Bale is who we're
go.
trying to think of. But
oh my god! And it's people like that
I'm
you
saying
know.
Christopher Nolan over and over and over again.
Yeah, I keep wanting to call everybody Christopher Nolan.
I have such bad short-term memory issues with all my Chiari stuff. I'm so bad with names and all that. I have to keep, like, especially when we do the reviews, I keep notes everywhere. That's why I know how long matches are and all that stuff.
Yeah, if you
I don't want to forget.
I have you do it because I don't do it. Like, but if you weren't on the show, I do it because otherwise I'll. And I'm definitely like the type that where if I was doing a video, I could pause a video and be like, "Hey Alexa, what's this?" And then I unpause and go back, and then it seems like I know everything, but it's like
yes, the illusion of intelligence.
Yeah, I'm really an idiot.
And remembrance.
It's gotten worse. Like, it's no doubt about it, dude. I got to start taking that like Joe Rogan brain formula stuff that he shows out.
Yeah, get on the Alex Jones mental rejuvenation.
Well, this will keep you sharp. You'll remember people that you fucked like back in 1978. It's crazy. No, but so I guess we're gonna wrap up this Batman.
Yeah, the last thing is that they might be going and using the story from the Long Halloween as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's what I saw on this.
Yeah, so the Court of Owls could be included in that as well, because I mean, basically what you're looking at is just a Calendar Man story. You're looking at somebody that kills on holidays.
Uh-huh.
The funny part is that every day is a holiday. So, but the way Calendar Man struck, he only struck on specific holidays, and it was all like each victim was tied to whatever the date was.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a great. I think it was 12 or 13 comics. I remember having that when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I worked at an ice cream store, and we had a comic and card collection shop in the back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so since my mother really worked at the store, but I used to go ahead and I would clean at nighttime and do the bathrooms and things like that. The jobs people didn't want to do, clean behind the machines.
Yeah.
And I would get paid at 10 years old in comics and stuff. So I loved it. You don't have money to buy comics. Now you get your comics. How do you beat it? 9, 10, around there. So I used to do all sorts of odds and end jobs at the ice cream store. And that's how I'd keep myself up to date in all the comics and the cards.
That's pretty badass, man. I would have.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would have, because there was a store that I used to have to ride my bike to, that I would basically just
live at.
Yeah, like that's where I got all the Magic the Gathering cards and all that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, there too. Magic was a huge thing. That, and then the Star Wars trading cards. People played that game as well. That was really big.
Yeah. Well, guys,
The Long Halloween, that was such a long series. I hope they do something like that. I think it'd be excellent.
I hope you guys leave comments down below. What do you think? Maybe we'll react to it in the next talk about Batman. This is part 2 of the Batman. And I'm sure that whenever there's new news or whenever there's whatever, I'll just add a part to this. So this will be a series of the Batman, so we can kind of follow it. So
you get more set photos and production notes and things like that coming out soon. I mean, they're going to start filming in 2 weeks. What they did show so far as well, which
they've already filmed, right? But they're going to start.
They filmed a good portion, but not a lot. Like a lot of test footage was started through.
Oh my god! I thought they were like deep into the filming already. Like,
not from my understanding. I guess they had only gotten like principal photography done for certain key shots.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I thought a trailer.
At least that's what I last read. So I could be wrong like always, but the last I read that they had gotten only a portion of the film done and then had to halt because of the coronavirus.
I legit thought a trailer was coming out soon. Like I didn't.
There's been a lot of fan-made trailers, and then they had the test footage that they released of the bat suit, and then you saw footage of the Bat Cycle and Batmobile. So
okay.
I can imagine them putting something together in September-ish, like once they have more footage together.
Yeah, I could see
a teaser. But
I'd like to see some kind of tease, with like a scene or like a couple quick little scenes, and then a whatever.
I want to see Robert as Wayne, not as Batman. I'm curious just to see his acting.
Yeah, and
at the point, because he is a very good actor. Even myself, I've given him crap. Everybody goes back to Twilight, but he is an excellent actor. He's done many great roles since then. So
he's got an irritating face to me. So don't I, though. So it's kind of like
pretty boy look.
It is, but
it makes you want to slap him because he's so good looking.
But no, it's not. It's like he's also just looks like a douche. Like that's not it. Because I don't mind, whatever. He just looks like a douche. I've got that face too. Like, so I'll be, you know what I mean? When people first see me, they're like, oh God, this guy looks like a, so I get it. Cause I don't like when people do it to me either. He seems like he's probably a nice guy. He actually kind of looks like a guy that looks like a kid that I went to school with kind of like, but more Hollywoodized, but it's weird how much he looks like him. We're definitely going to get that sort of muscle car 70s vibe, 80s, like almost looks like Knight Rider meets like Fast and the Furious, the Batmobile, which I think it's pretty cool.
That's a great mention there. I didn't even think about that. It does have that kind of feel to it, though.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to
watching them drive through the cemetery where apparently the Batcave entrance will be, and zipping by on the motorcycle. You can tell they didn't add the CG yet to the suit, like the cape is going to be CG, but just the looks of the scene of him cruising through.
The cape is going to be CGI? Why?
I guess in that scene it was going to be.
Oh, because it's got to move everywhere and it's just easier to do it
constantly with the motorcycle. And
that's just so weird though to think. Like, what?
I remember one of the previous movies. I think it was the last one of the Nolan films. They had an issue. Obviously, they broke the IMAX camera. The Catwoman stunt double did that. I know that, but she crashed into it on the tumbler. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, she broke. It was a really expensive camera too. Something I think either 100,000 or $500,000. I think it was $500,000.
$500,000, I believe,
for the IMAX camera. I think it was really expensive.
Oh my god! It's got to be $500,000 because I remember there were some movies where they literally wanted to do it and they couldn't do it because they couldn't get another camera.
Yeah, and then they had to change the cape though. I remember hearing as like a trivia thing when they had to get Batman on the motorcycle there, the tumbler bike, because it was too long. It was going to get caught in the back wheel and like snap him backwards.
Oh
so
my
they
God.
CG'd a little bit of length onto the cape.
Okay.
But these are little things that you would never pick up on. Like, crazy.
Yeah, had you not said anything, I wouldn't know. Yeah. No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious to see how it all turns out. But they've got so much money and technology is so far advanced now that we're at that uncanny valley level. So they've got to be careful not to make it too realistic. But
what's nice about this, maybe again, is sort of that. I feel like because we went so crazy in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and 2010s to 2015s or 16s, that there's this sort of calling back for, to go back to the basics, sort of, and basically. Yes. Get something more realistic and real, and then use the CGI and the fun to be put on top of it, where we got so, because CGI was so new and so, like, it took such a huge leap in the late 90s, it became like people just wanted to do it or do everything with it because it was so fun. And
yeah, it was this new medium that people hadn't seen before, and they just wanted to utilize it constantly. And it became much more, at times even cost effective, but it became much easier to do things on set because you didn't have to build these huge elaborate set pieces. You didn't have to construct these monsters anymore. Practical effects for like horror movies and stuff was out the window, so you didn't have to cover your cast in blood. You can literally just film a scene and, oh, we'll do it all later. So it became a bit lazier too, in a sense, but that's why I love people that still use practical effects, because it just looks so much better.
This biggest example is Star Wars. When you look at the original Star Wars, then you look at the 3 prequels, it goes completely overboard. And then if you
way
look
overboard with the CGI, and then
J.J. Abrams,
JJ brought back practical, so,
and that's why JJ's,
and it made a difference. You notice it.
Yeah, JJ's look so much better because it's like everything seems tangible and real and touchable. And then the effects feel so amazing put over it. Whereas the prequels, it all feels like a smudge or like like it just all feels so overdone. I don't mind them 100%, like, because it's kind of cool, but there is that sort of just, this doesn't seem real. It seems like you're watching a cartoon come to life. And yeah, but I think, like you just said, we're just getting grounded again to where all the effects and the cool things they're doing add to the movie and also stick out as like very amazing, as opposed to like, I don't know. It's just so funny, dude. We're going to look back on the year 1998 to 2005, and we're going to look back at that time and be like, man, CGI was just out of control. It wasn't as good as it is now, and yet we were using it on everything because finally they could do it. Where they, back in the early mid 90s and 80s, they couldn't really they could do it a little bit, but they couldn't do it enough, so they didn't. But when they did it, it added to the movie, even though it didn't look the greatest. But then in the late 90s and early 2000s, it didn't look the greatest, but they did it on everything because they could do it. And it was like, we've found such a happy medium now compared to then.
Yeah, compared to what it was, so...
Yeah, we're out of here. That was Batman Part 2. We'll be back with another one. Hopefully, we'll continue this. Even maybe, I'm hoping that even a couple years from now, when there's another one coming out, you know, and we just continue this. So I'm going to be adding playlists to the YouTube channel on Batman, on The Matrix, on everything else, on video games, on everything. So you guys can sort through all these podcasts. And if you guys really like it, hope you support the Patreon in the description below. Share these videos everywhere. Like them, comment. And, of course, subscribe if you're new. Thanks to Jake. I'm out of here. Evil Spectrum 3, Joe Cronin, whatever channel you're watching this on, or if you're listening on the podcast area. We'll see you next time.